Hello and welcome to another video from the only channel that you need to not only survive the current apocalypse but actually enjoy it. And today's video is going to be about how to read the book of Revelation for yourself and to actually understand it. There's just a few basic principles that you have to keep in mind. And actually, I've made a series about how to read the Bible for yourself and actually understand it. You really need to go back and take a look at that. But with Revelation, there are very specific things just to the book of Revelation that we need to talk about now. First off, the Bible itself, as I've always said, is the book about the war between civilization and creation, or if you want to, you could call it the war between God's kingdom and Satan's empire, or another way to think about it is a war between the angels and the demons, or the fallen angels. So that's another good thing to keep in mind for our discussion. But in the book of Genesis, we see how this war started, and in the book of Revelation, we see how it's going to end. Everything in between is basically reenactments of historic Bible events and also pre-enactments of historic Bible events that are going to happen in the future. In the book of Revelation, I have said that it is almost completely about the restoration of the calendar. Now, if you don't know what I mean, you need to go back and watch a series I made a while back called Written in Stone, about how God altered the solar system in such a way that we had to go from a 360-day calendar with 12 perfectly fitting 30-day months to a 365-day calendar that really doesn't make much sense. And this is written in stone. All around the world there are calendars, 360-day calendars, and cultures that had nothing to do with Israel. And there are also 365-day calendars that came later on. In Revelation, that is a very large part of it. And that's why the numbers that you find on a calendar continue to pop up throughout the book of Revelation. The number 12, because there's 12 months. Even the number 24, you'll see the 24 elders gathered around the throne. We actually on this earth have 24 months. You know, the Bible is not about the northern hemisphere. It's about the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. So as I've explained in the past, when the earth is tilted this way, the southern hemisphere is experiencing summer. When it's tilted this way toward the sun, the northern hemisphere is experiencing summer. So our 12 months up here do not match the 12 months in the southern hemisphere. So we have a total on this planet of 24 months. So when you read the word 24 in the book of Revelation, it's talking about a restoration of the calendar. Even the 144,000 gathered around the throne is basically speaking about the angels that were here the entire time watching over humanity while we were enslaved to Satan's empire. And the numbers is like, if you go to a 360-day calendar, divide 144,000 by 360, you come up with the number of 400. So for 400 years, 360 days a year, there was somebody here to watch us. And the reason 400 is significant is because that is how long the Hebrews were enslaved to Egypt. So it's a figurative number, but it's also a real number. They actually experienced a 400 years of slavery. We as a human family have experienced about 6,000. So, but that's not a clear number in the Bible, so rather than say 6,000 times 360 and coming up with a number, we have 144,000 elders. That's the number. Any number in there. The 7, there's a lot of 7s in there. That's talking about the days of the week. And look, I've said before that the calendar is based on celestial phenomenon. So, you know, like, and as an example, the day, our day is the amount of time it takes for the earth to rotate one time on its axis. So from the moment of the sun coming up till the moment the sun comes up the next day, that is a day. And every single one of our references, our standards in measurement of time, comes from these celestial phenomenon. So we've got a month because every month in the real world, in a 360-day calendar, something significant would happen to the moon to tell us it was time for a new month. And you're going to love that. When we get to that part of the Bible, you're going to it's going to blow your mind. But anyway, right now, there's nothing you can look at in the sky to tell you it's a new week, or that even a week is 7 days long. But at one time, something happened every 7 days that any human on earth could look up and see to tell us that we were experiencing a week. And There's other things that have happened in this war, though, to cause damage to the earth. If we go back in history, you know, the first thing that Adam and Eve did was they brought death into the world and sickness by eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and bad. From that moment on, human beings have been in a dying condition. The book of Revelation addresses that when it talks about bringing back the dead to life in perfect health. And the next thing to happen was the creation of the Nephilim, these half-human, half-angel hybrids that were the resource controllers of their day, very similar to the resource controllers of our day. So we know how our resource controllers, when I say our resource controllers, I mean the military, the industrialists, the way they work is they just destroy, they consume. And that's addressed in the book of Revelation, getting rid of all those that are consuming the earth. It says, I am bringing to ruin those ruining my earth. And so that's addressed. And also the restoration of all the extinct species. When you read in the book of Revelation about the trees of life sprouting up on either side of the waters of the rivers of waters of life, that's actually talking about a physical restoration of the planet. I have spent my whole life in church being told that everything in the book of Revelation is figurative. It's not figurative. It's just exactly what's going to happen. The Bible says, I am making all things new. And that's what the book of Revelation is about. It's about making all things new. Now, another thing that happened in this war was the flood. And what kind of damage did the flood bring? Well, before the flood, it said it had never rained before. So after Christ's return, we will never see rain again. But not only that, geologists today, when they are asked to explain how we got things like the Grand Canyon or how we got Mount Everest or any of these things that are in inhospitable places where you can't live, places that you can't really easily access, places that won't grow food, they'll tell you it was brought about by the Ice Age. Well, honestly, that was brought about by the flood. This flood damage is going to be repaired. The book of Revelation says that the mountains are going to go away and that the islands are going to go away. That's real. That's not figurative. Once the waters from the flood return to where they came from. And the Bible specifically says that the floodgates of the heavens opened up. So when those waters go back up to the heavens, to wherever they were before, that we cannot explain by science and have no need to explain by science, once that happens, no more rain, all the mountains, all the islands go away. You know, if you want to go visit friends in Europe, you can walk there. I think most people, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist kind of guy. You know, there's a lot of people that say that Atlantis is in 15 different places under the ocean. Well, I'm sure that there's a lot of cities under the ocean because when the flood was over, the waters did not go back. The next thing that happened after the flood was the confusing of the languages. And the book of Revelation addresses this. It specifically speaks of everybody on earth going back to speaking one language. It even calls the first fruits, the 144,000 angels. It says that they sing a new song that no one else can sing because as first fruits, they would be the first that would go back to being able to speak this pure language that was given to all creation prior to the city of Babel. And the next thing to come along was the altering of the relative speed between the earth and the moon and the sun. That'll be fixed. So when you're reading the book of Revelation, just know that the entire book, even though it sounds scary, is really about restoring the earth back to a perfect, pristine condition, complete with rainforest, no rain, land that you can walk across, bringing back land that's under the ocean right now, bringing back a human family that can communicate with one another, and human beings that never, ever die or get sick. That's all it is. And I know that goes completely against every religion on the earth. It's supposed to be some kind of mystery that can't be figured out. But Revelation is no mystery. Revelation is a mystery to God's enemies. It's not supposed to be a mystery to his friends. If you don't want to survive, don't listen to me.